Welcome, boat race fans. It's our Thursday night show. I'm your host, Dana Potts. We're at Champions Park Lake Studio, and I'm also promoter of Champions Park Lake in Springfield, Ohio, home of two APBA National Championships this year. We got the first one. We got the APBA Stock, Mod, and Junior Nationals, July 12th through the 18th. Then we have the APBA Outboard Performance Championship Nationals, August 6th through the 8th. Tickets should be going up. Tailgate sales renewals are going on right now. If you want information, go to championsparklake.com. We got it scrolling down at the bottom. You can get information on the event. You can get on our tailgating waiting list. You can get race view camping. You can get all that fun stuff. First off, let's pay the bills tonight. Feel free to chime in, and anybody that asks a question or likes our video, makes a comment or whatever, will be eligible. We'll do a draw at the end. You'll be able to get your Besser Shield Power Immune Booster. We'll send you out a case, and you can enjoy that. They are our title sponsor or presenting sponsor of the OPC Nationals. You can go to getbesser.com and order a case on your own and support our sponsorship. So we're excited to have a guest on. We got a little sidetracked by a Texas winter storm that probably cut us all off. And I think we actually canceled that week because I'm in Texas too. But without further ado, I'm excited to have our guest, owner of Phase 3 Performance, Jim Slag. Welcome, Jim.
Hi, Dana. Thank you. And thanks for having me and coming to you live from the Phase 3 Performance Studios, in Houston. And I think as a guest, I think all guests should also get a case of the Besser Health product. I'd like to do that.
I will.
I'm trying to lose weight. I'll do anything I can. So if it'll help, I'm in.
Done. Well, I'll get your address afterwards, and we'll get you a case shipped over. So actually, Besser's putting together a nice little swag packs for all my drivers and stuff. So we're working on that. So we got some cool things coming down the pipeline with Besser. So I like to start all my shows off. Like I said, feel free to chime in and ask questions. We'll post them up. Jim will answer them or plead the fifth, one or the other. I always like to start the show out. How did you get started in boat racing?
The real genesis of my boat racing was on a lake outside of Lufkin, Texas, Sam Rayburn Lake, for anybody in Texas. I had the fastest ski boat on the lake, and I wanted to go faster. And I was smart enough to go, if I've been very lucky, haven't had any accidents. If I'm going to go faster, I need to be someplace where there's rescue, pull me out when I do have that accident. And so I started looking around to see what various possibilities there were, various classes. I looked, I said, let's go drag boat racing. So we drove to, I was in high school at the time, drove to Fort Worth in the morning. There's a Marine Creek Lake out northwest of Fort Worth, big drag boat races down on the hill, parking lots of one hill, down one side. You go over the hill for the spectator area, and there's the lake. We topped the hill, and the announcer goes, "Oh, look, Top Fuel Hydros coming up next. This is so-and-so, fastest class, da-da-da." I told the three people who were with me, I said, "Oh, watch this. These are the bad guys. These are the big dudes here. Watch this."
Yeah.
Takes off, flips, gets killed.
Oh.
And I said, I'm not going to do drag racing. We turned around and walked back down the hill, got in the car, and left.
Wow.
And we looked at some other things, and ended up, OPC was beginning to grow in the early 70s. And there was actually a pretty active boat racing community in Houston at the time. They did a lot of offshore boats, inboards, Grand Nationals. There's another class, big motors, V-bottom, V'd flat bottom boat. Red Adair, who's a local, personality, was a driver. Mm-hmm. And, they used to have a race called, it was a marathon race, and went from just east of downtown Houston on the San Jacinto River out down the ship channel, through Galveston Bay, offshore to the sea buoy, turn around and come back. And that was a pretty brutal race. And anyway, so there was a lot of racing here. And I kind of settled on OPC racing. Started in sports J class. Model, in those days, 71, 72, the European boats, there were only a few European boats in the U.S. Everything else was what I refer to as garage craft boats. My first boat was, which I posted it on the Phase 3 Performance website or Facebook page. It was built out of pine plywood by a shrimp boat builder. And not real fast, but it can go through rough water like you can't believe, and hit anything. Didn't care. You weren't going to hurt this boat. And then from there, my next boat was a Cougar I bought from Johnny Sanders at Back McCune, and started racing that boat in, I guess, 73. Had some great successes in it. In 74, I set a world speed record in False River, Louisiana, and won St. Louis in 74 with that boat. Nice. And so that was kind of where I began. And by that time, that boat was 3 years old, had 3 race seasons under it, maybe 4 with Mac and Johnny. And then I got a Bowerman. It's a reasonable facsimile of the Cougar. Turned out to be a great boat, very fast, very quick, but it tended to barrel roll in turns. And so I had to learn to drive past that, through a little experience. It barrel rolled a couple of times. Anyway, won St. Louis in 75 in that boat. And then I 75, 76, late 76, Alan Yaw from Abilene Marine. It was kind of an unofficial factory team. He ran the boats or managed the boats for Tommy Posey and Barry Woods. And those are huge personalities in the 70s and early 80s in this class racing. They both got to drive the rotaries for OMC all over the world. And I was being groomed to take over Tommy's seat. And I was going to drive, I guess this was 78. I was going to drive his V6 on his Molinary, and he was going to drive one of the rotary motors at Parker. Well, in training the week before the race, I was running and tripped and fell. Went down on my hands, took all the skin off both hands, and couldn't do that. So I continued to drive my. I had a Burgess. It was the old ex-longbow boat, John Hill's longbow boat. That was a fast boat. My goodness, that was a fast boat. Anyway, I drove that in 79. I won Mod 50 in 1979 at Havasu. And I was starting my business. I got married the year before. And I said, I have to be more careful and more prudent with my time. And I can't risk something, making a mistake. So I said, okay, got out of the boat, pulled me up on the ramp. Everybody's, high-fiving, belly bumping, carrying on. Thank you. Congratulations. You did a great job. I can't believe you did this, da-da-da. Thanks, y'all, but that was my last race. And I went, what? My wife was there. She went, what? My father, who was my crew chief, said, what? I said, yep. This is the right thing for me to do right now. So that's what I consider the phase 1 of my racing.
Got it.
And that's how I got into it. And over the years, after that, between 79 and I guess 99, I got out and got back in. I kind of was on the sidelines. I helped some other folks around boat racing. I was considered a revered elder, and helped them with some advice and some, helped them buy some boats and motors and that sort of thing. And so that was a great period. My time, I was involved in the Schubert's 45 program, the Schubert's early. I don't remember what classes in Champs, 120, 140, something like that. They bought a boat from Scott Gilman in Colorado, and I was in Colorado for the holidays, and he said, "Hey, drag that boat back for me." So had a horrible snowstorm while we were there. When I met Scott and picked up the boat in Denver, it had about 8 inches of snow on it, and ice, snow, and the ice didn't melt till we got back to Dalhart, Texas. I mean, it was horrible. Anyway, drug that boat back for them. So that's I kind of played with that for a while, and did some Formula 50, which was a class that we tried to start with basically 45 boats with stock 50, 60 horse engines, 50 horse engines. Tohatsu and Yamahas raced in that fairly successfully. Did that, and I worked also for IOGP, and what was the other one?
Did you work for Prop?
Prop, yes, thank you. I did. I was referee, pit boss, assistant referee for them. So kind of did my duty on the dark side for a while, and in 1978, I was nosing around. I wanted to do something again. Not sure what I wanted to do, and so I decided. I think 120 was beginning to really grow up as a popular class, and 120, 140 was really beginning to grow. So I started working with Heath Mosier in his 60 boat, SST 60 boat. Ran with him for a year or two in SST 60, and then we made the move to 120. Started with the Kniff boat. I think Terry Rinker. I sold to him. I'm sorry.
You sold. What did you sell?
Kniff.
Got it.
I think Terry Rinker still has parts or pieces of my boat, but I sold all mine to him. Anyway, so
the 60 to 120 transition, that was phase 2, correct?
Yes, that's my second phase. That was the beginning of the second phase, and then raced with Heath for a year, and then brought in Gordy Miller. He raced for me for a year.
Yep.
And then the last 3 years, Vince Voisin drove for me. And the last 3 years, Vince Voisin is a hell of a driver. He really was. Dedicated, focused, trained well. He's in great physical condition, great mental condition. His father was our crew chief, and Don was he was good with motors. I mean, he really was. And they had always been, if they're listening, they'll probably send me hate mail for saying this, but they were always good. They were close. They were second or third, fourth kind of thing. They just never could take the next step. I don't know how you want to describe that. So they came on with me, bunch of boats. Of those 3 years, Timmy Seabold reported to me that I was the largest client he had for those 3 years. I think I bought probably 5 or 6 boats from him during that period.
Wow.
Anyway, so we raced with Vince 2002, 2003, 2004. And in that period of time, we won 2 world championships. We won 2 of the IOGP circuit champions those 2 years. And after the '04 season, kind of the break between '04 and '05, I just said, I'm back where I was before. I won everything that we set out to do. We won every class we set out to win. Um, did well. Only thing I can do from this point is to go up to the next class, which was champ.
Yeah.
And spend a whole lot more money, have less of a possibility of winning, and could get somebody hurt.
Yeah, because that time frame, Champ was running S3000 motors, similar to what they race over in Europe, which you're seeing speeds of 130 mile an hour, and really.
The Champ boats were, they're every bit as impressive as the F1 H2O boats in Europe right now. Unbelievable speed. I think the boats now have probably developed a little bit better, that now they've got a better ability to turn, accelerate without, kind of stay flat and just go straight. But anyway, so I said, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's time for me to quit. And I called Vince. Hey, Vince, how are you? Fine. What are you up to? I'm sitting on the beach in Hawaii on vacation with my girlfriend and her family. I went, oh, sorry. Well, I'll call you back later and talk to you. I don't no, talk. Well, okay, if you insist. I'm quitting racing. You're unemployed. So that's kind of how I got it. That was the second phase.
Yeah.
And I've been out of it since then, and we been pretty focused on my business since then. My family, growing up, and now the kids are out of the house, and Karen and I went in 2019. We went to two of the F1 H2O races in Europe. We went to Portimao, Portugal, and then went back about a month later to the Evian race in France. Yeah, beautiful locations. My goodness, they're beautiful. And as you and I talked the other day, it's a disease. It's addictive. And
I'm trying, I told you, I was like, I'm trying to find that 12-step program to get racers out of this. I don't know if it's out there. It might be a 30-step program.
Yeah, but when you get it figured out, I'll be one of your first classmates,
first clients.
Yeah. Anyway, so I came back, and I had been Rick and Roger Bobolick, who own the boat that Mark Schmerbach drives at 45. They're my cousins. We speak every week. Rick works for me as an IT guy, runs my IT program at my company, and he's always telling me about the races. And I said, well, what about the V6 class? And we were talking. Mark Profit was winning, and Lee Daniels was winning, and we talked about all these people, and I'm sitting here going, man, these new boats are fast. I've outrun all those clowns before. I can outrun, I can put a program together to beat them. So, a little cocky and arrogant, I'll admit. I said, I'm ready to go do this again. It was, it all came together fairly quickly. I guess we were April or May in Europe. And then when you had your test program, I guess in June of 19,
June,
the days before, the weeks before your race. And I went up there, and I'd been looking around, kicking tires and checking on things, and I saw RJ's boat run. I guess at that time there was this plug that he ran in Port Neches, in what year straight here, 19.
That was 19, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go look at this. I'm gonna go check this out. So I flew into Springfield that morning of, I guess it was Wednesday. The Wednesday is test day.
Yeah,
And,
it was during the week. Yeah.
yeah, and went and looked at the boats, and just kind of, Foster had his new Hoffman, and looked at him and made a deal with RJ. I said, okay, I want a boat. When can I have it? So we talked about that, and I said, okay, I got to leave. I got to go buy a trailer, go buy a truck and trailer. So I told the pilot, I said, kick the tires, light the fires. We're going to Oklahoma. And we flew down to Oklahoma, went into Elite Motorsports in Oklahoma. They had probably 20 or 30 haulers in their yard. And I had been looking at this one, talking to them about it and seen pictures, but until I'm one of these people, until I can put my hands on it, I'm not going to pull the trigger. So I went and looked at it and went, it's a pretty good deal. This will work. This is big. As a matter of fact, it's a little too big, as we discussed earlier. The truck and trailer are 83 feet long. It's a beast. I mean, it's illegal. But we always hide behind the RV.
No. It's legal. This is public, so we don't want you to get in trouble.
Yeah, it's legal. It's legal. It's got an RV.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we bought the trailer, went back in a couple of weeks and brought it home. Paul was the driver, and Rick and Roger went with me. And we flew up in the morning. They picked us up, and we got in the truck and drove back to Houston. We were there home by dark. And, went from there and got the boat from RJ. And also towards the end of the year, I bought a mole guard out of Europe, a true F2 boat, kind of give me something as a yardstick to compare against. Great boat. Boat did very well in Europe. The mole guards have done very well in Europe.
Yeah.
And so I bought that boat, and brought it back, and we started working on it. Still didn't have our composite craft, and we raced it in Bradenton. It was rigged for an Optimax, so we said, hell, leave the Optimax on there. We put the Optimax on there, and went and ran it, and the boat was fast. He was the second fastest qualifier. He was, I don't remember, 1/10 or 200ths or something slower than Ashton.
Yeah.
Except, in qualifying, 1 lap qualifying. Except he hit the finish line buoy, so, whatever. So he moved to the back of the line. Anyway, the boat was fast. Rusty had no experience in the boat. He had probably 30, 40 minutes in the boat before. Did a great job. He was inside. Somebody tried to cut him off and hit him, and dislodged the steering drum on the shaft, and he couldn't control the boat. And he wisely said, "I don't feel comfortable. I want to put it on the trailer." My first reaction was, "Come on, man up here. Drive the boat. Do your job. Drive it." And before he got back to the trailer, I said, if he's not comfortable, that's the right thing to do. And we didn't know what was wrong. We just knew that it wouldn't steer. We didn't know whether it was the power steering unit or what going out in it. So we got up on the trailer, and Brendan pulled the inspection cover off, and you can see the drum twisted and cable all off. And
oh man,
yeah, that was the right thing to do, Rusty. Good job. And so that's kind of where we did with that. And then the composite craft got in, and we got it rigged, and we went to Springfield with it last year, and we're doing well. I think we figured we were the 4th or 5th fastest. And
yeah, you were in the top 5, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
And Terry had no time in the boat. And we threw Terry Rinker in as a driver because Rusty was in Canada, couldn't get out of Canada. Still
Yeah,
a problem we're having getting him out of Canada. Spoke to him
exactly.
today about that, and I said, come on, man. I'm going to introduce you to a cartel member. They can bring those guys in from Mexico. Surely there's somebody, surely there's a Quebecois, can smuggle you into the U.S. And
Yeah, we had a few discussions on that because I told you, I said, if you can get Rusty in, just make sure he's from Minnesota.
right, right. Getting him in is not the problem. It's
Yeah,
getting home is the hard part.
exactly.
2 week quarantine, no work, no income, so neither one of us could afford that. So
Yeah,
we're still working on that. He said maybe about April 30th. There was rumor that April 30th they would open the
open it up.
border up. So we'll see.
Nice.
We'll see what happens from him. So anyway, so here we are in phase 3 performance. That's
So
how
so
we're.
so what you're saying is phase 3 was kind of started at Champions Park Lake. And funny story, I tried to kick you out. And maybe, we talk about this addiction. Maybe I should have kicked you out and just saved you a bunch of money.
Yeah, yeah, it's all your fault. That's right.
It's
I
my
told my
fault.
wife,
I'm an enabler.
Aaron,
I'm
it's
an
his fault.
enabler.
It's his fault that I'm racing. So yeah, for those of you who haven't heard the story, so I called RJ. He told me he's gonna be there testing. I said, okay, I'll come look. And I was walking around and watching it, and Dana comes up and he says, "How are you?" I said, "Fine." "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm watching the boats test." He said, "This is a private test session in
Yeah.
here." I
I was
said,
what
"Yeah,
I was worried about insurance because we
yeah,
had to
yeah,
have everybody sign waivers and
yeah." You had a clipboard with waivers to
yeah,
sign.
exactly.
And I said, "Yeah, I know." He said, I'm with him." And I pointed to RJ. I said, "You got any questions? Talk to him. I'm with him." And then he said, "Well, will you at least sign a waiver?" "Sure." Sign the waiver. I still don't think you know who I mean, it's not
Yeah,
important that you didn't know who I was, but yeah. So it's all your fault that I'm still racing.
exactly. Well,
You drove me.
we're actually glad you're racing. We're glad you're back in phase 3. I guess a couple questions I have. Obviously, we went down the path of getting back in. You know, you've got a new driver, Rusty Wyatt. I guess what was the process that you went through of getting a driver? Because you've been out of the sport a little bit. You had your ear to the ground. What do you look at? What do you look for in a driver? Because I'm a big fan of Rusty. He's a up and coming young driver. He had a huge heartache in 2019 in Springfield where he finished 100 feet shy of the finish.
Yeah,
And I basically said that's either going to make that kid stronger or he's going to break down and never be in boat
destroy him.
racing again. And I think it's made him stronger. But just go through that process of what you went about choosing a driver.
Of course, as I mentioned, I kind of been following it for a year or two with Rick and Roger and Mark Schmerbach, not necessarily with any intention, but I'm always evaluating people in my business. When I meet an estimator who works for one of my competition, I look at this guy. Well, what's his strength? What's his weakness? What opportunities can he bring? And I do that. I do that with fishing guides, hunting guides. And so I kind of been watching the field, and I'm gonna try not to call any names here, but there are some people who are too hard headed, pretty set in their own ways, old, think they know it all. Those guys kind of went away in a hurry. Um, Also, along the way, before I started all this, Brendan Power built some engines for us when we were racing with Vince Voisin in the SST 120. Brendan and I always got along well, and he built some great engines for us. Got depth of knowledge that he has and the experience that he has is second to none. We know Ron Anderson, Dr. Hidlin, whatever, from Michigan, brother of the skater guy. Great engine builders. There's some great engine builders in Europe, but in the V6 outboard world, Mercury outboard world, I'd put Brendan up against any of them.
Mhm.
He was telling me the other day, after something happened last year, he said, I still have won more world championships in 3 different classes or something than anybody else campaigning right now. And I went,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good. But anyway, so I talked to him. I said, Brendan, I'm thinking about getting back into racing. Go race, NGK F1. Said, I'm want to talk to you. And he said, yes. I said, I'm sorry? Yeah, I'm in. He said, oh, good. Okay. If you do, yeah, I'm in. And Brendan's just a bright guy, not only about motors, but setups, balance,
Mhm.
props. He's really got a lot on the ball. Really, I mean, I'm not a mechanical person.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm more of an organizer. I hate to use the word leader, but we'll just call it an organizer.
Yeah.
I joke that in my company, my job is to hire people better than me, give them the equipment they need, give them the resources they need, and send them
Mhm.
on their way, uh, and facilitate them.
Yep.
And I joke that I'm just a pretty face that signs checks. And I think I'm doing somewhat the same thing in boat racing. I've got Brendan
Mhm.
uh, on that. Uh, my driver,
Mhm.
Rusty's got a lot on the ball,
Mhm.
a lot going on, with those two. And with Brendan, I get Tyler Percy, his
Mhm.
number 2 guy in his company. They're building engines and
Mhm.
great engineer, a lot of Mercury experience. And I've still got Rick and Roger. Rick's been with me to every race I've ever been to in my life.
Oh, nice.
So we're that tight. Um, anyway, so gather those. Paul, the truck driver,
Mhm.
and then we'll pick up a few hangers on along the way.
Mhm.
Ray Wyatt, Rusty's brother, is coming along as a crew member when he can. He just had a baby's. I'm gonna say the baby's 8, 9 months old right now.
Yeah.
Rhett is his name. Um,
Nice.
so they're uh, that's kind of who the core group is.
Yeah.
When Rusty couldn't attend last year, we stepped in and pulled in Terry Rinker,
Mhm.
who's Terry Rinker.
Yeah.
That's all I need to say. Terry
He's
Rinker.
won a few races. He won
Yeah,
our inaugural race in Champions Park Lake.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
he's
So we're able to
he's
pull
been
him
around
in.
the boat.
Yeah, he can get around the boat. So anyway, so that's kind of how I've assembled the crew,
Mhm.
and missing last year, I think is going to turn out to be a blessing and allowing us to get our act together a little bit better, get a little bit more prepared.
Yeah.
So, here we are. We're ready for Port Neches, so we will be in about 6 weeks.
Yeah, Port Neches is coming up. That's is it first weekend of May?
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
April 30th. That'll be an exciting race. That's kind of your home race, so
It
it'll be
is.
exciting to
It's
get.
50
I'm
miles.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure your family friends are like, "Hey, are you actually going to race?
Yeah.
You got all this equipment here. When are you going to
Yeah.
race?"
A lot of my employees want to come
Good.
to the race, and they see all this stuff out in the shop out there. I've thrown all my company equipment outside, and we've got a 50 by 100 foot shop building that's full of all my stuff, and so anyway, they all want to come. So I think I'll have my own personal cheering section, or Rusty or Terry, one of them will have their own personal cheering section. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. Obviously, the schedule is kind of up in arms. I mean, we're solid on Champions Park Lake because we put on an event last year and got approval. It's really tough to. I guess I asked this question. It's really tough to figure out what that's going to be. What are your goals for this year? I mean, I know you've said in the past it's like win championships, but do you set like ladder steps on the ladder to like let's get to this point, then let's let's worry about getting to this point. Do you set that, or do you just set the high goal and just let's shoot for it?
Set the high goal, hire good people, give them
Mm-hmm.
the facilities, the equipment, the backing that they need, and you boys go do your thing. I would my sarcastic answer is the one that my daughter has told me several times, and when she was growing up, is I want it all, and I want it all right now. When I mean, it is. It's my personality. I'm here to win. If I can't win, I want whoever won the race to feel, man, I was lucky. I beat them. I want to be present in everything that I do, personally, business, and fun. I want to go shoot the biggest deer, the biggest elk, the biggest moose, whatever. So,
and it was interesting. I talked to a lot of guys last year after during our race, and you could feel the presence because you were a brand new team, brought in a hired gun, stepping up your program. Then you had, Steve Dillard and his program. They were stepping up. We had a lot of teams stepping up last year, and I had a lot of comments from Hoffman. Guys had been around the sport for a long time, and they said, man, we hadn't seen that much like competitive juices in a while. And it really felt good because that Fast Five, I mean, those guys were throwing down. You had Foster, you had guys playing, and it was fun. It was exciting to see, and I could feel it in our fans too, because they were understanding what's going on and how important it was. I mean, you had Jay Price, world champion. You had Terry Rinker, won many races, raced in F1 H2O. You had Greg Foster running both series. I mean, you had Ashton defending champion. I mean, it was pretty heated. Then you had RJ that's doing all this testing, and he was flying, and everybody's trying to figure him out. And it was impressive last year.
Yeah, it was. And, you talk about our team, our organization, and the Dillards. Okay, that's the new blood in the water, but RJ, Greg Foster, Ashton, I mean, those are kind of the old standards. Those guys are good too. I mean, you can't, I'm going to speak for Steve Dillard here. We're unknown. We're legends in our own mind, but we have never put a boat in the water against those three people who I respect and honor them. So it's whoever wins this year is going to deserve it. They're going to earn it. There's not going to be. I don't think anybody's going to win all the races this year. I think there's going to be multiple winners.
And the other thing you're seeing is a lot of new boats too, a lot of new combinations. You got Hoffman's boat, you got RJ's boat, the composite. I think there's a boat being built up in Indiana now. Then we've got Minnesota guys have plugged an arrow slot. It's exciting times. It's unfortunate that we went through a pandemic and it's kind of like we put the brakes on it, but we had to race in Springfield. And, I was very adamant, and I communicated with a lot of the teams that, I feel we had to do it because we have that addiction. So it's like, we got to do this. Be out of sight, out of mind for a full year. I don't know what we'd all go stir crazy.
Yeah. And you talk about those boats. Don't forget the Dillards have got a DAC. Then they've got a very good DAC, and they've got a very good moor boat. Those, not the DAC and not the moor so much as specifically that DAC and that moor are great boats.
Because both of those boats won world championships over in Europe, correct?
Both won F2 in Europe. So those are not only are they good brands, those boats are good boats, proven winners.
Good, solid racing boats, and also safety. I mean, they're at the standard of safety. So, I believe Hoffman's are at the standard of safety. I mean, that's a big thing for us as we continue to grow the sport. So chime in. We've had some people come in and ask. I didn't see any questions, but feel free, folks, to chime in and ask questions about Jim's race team. Phase 3. He's in phase 3. So will there ever be a phase 4?
I don't have enough runway left to get that done.
Yeah.
I got to get the third finished down here. I'll also say something about the boats and the safety. Rick Hoffman's been approved for a 10 Newton cell. The standard
10,000 newtons, isn't it? Isn't it 10,000 newtons?
Yes, I'm sorry, you're right. 10,000. The standard in Europe is a 2,000 Newton cell and a 3,000 Newton crash box, or the other 2 and 3 and 2 the other way around. That's a maximum of 5,000 newtons. Rick's got one that's 10,000 newtons.
Yeah, I know he's working on that. That's awesome.
That would be a beast. Yeah, looking forward to seeing
we do have a question, and this might be related. Ryan Slack, is phase 4 in Europe?
I told you not to talk about that.
We're breaking news. I figured that. I was like, maybe that's breaking news. Phase 4 Europe.
We've talked about it. We've had some conversation about running in Europe. It was originally based around running the Optimax. Of course, that's all, who knows where we are on engines now, where we'll be in engines in five years. But I'm not going to say no, but I will say if the opportunity presents itself, I would like to race in Europe at some time in my career before I'm done.
Yeah. One thing I want to do is I want to create Champions Park Lake to where that is the race where everybody from Europe to Norway to Australia to New Zealand come once a year in the summertime, and we have a whole month of shootouts of racing and find out who the baddest is in the world. Because we all talk, well, F1 H2O, the American drivers are better. That was always the case, and now the F1 H2O, the European drivers are. I'd like to settle it all on the race course, get every bad driver there is, and get them in Springfield, Ohio, and have a shootout and make it like the Indy 500 of powerboat racing.
Billy was able to do that, sort of, kind of, in wasn't the Creve Coeur Lake, it was George Winter Park. In the 70s, the factory racing was legendary. I mean, when they said the flag is up, you could have heard a pin drop in that on that park. One of my favorite memories of that was, of course, if you know that they start here back to the right of the ramp, and they go straight out to the far turn, and come back down the back side of the river. So line them up, and Gary Garbrick had his radio guys here. Jack Leake had his radio guys here, and he was running back, telling things like this. The radio guys were talking to the drivers, and they were all getting boats pushing forward. I mean, it was pretty exciting just to watch this.
Yeah.
And they said the flag is up, and Barry Wood's engine started steaming. It wasn't a fire, it was steam or something, clouds coming out of his motor. Well, in those days they ran nitrous oxide. He shot, just to me, a shot of nitrous in there for the launch. The solenoid stuck open, and it was just pushing, just pumping it in there. When he hit the switch, the boat just jumped straight up, and the engine cowl went like that.
Oh, nice.
And we were all sitting there going, oh, yeah. Yeah, those races, they had brakes for a while.
Yeah.
Which was pretty amazing. So, it was just some great memories of those days.
I was at the end of George Winter Park, and those were. I could see it, and that's it's very much what I try to mimic in Springfield, Ohio. When we tested there with the Overton's boat, we tested on a St. Louis course. We always thought our lake could be the next St. Louis, and the way it was set up, and we're on that path. So
you
we
are.
got another question. We got another question from your son. Can you tell everyone the story of your 200-mile-an-hour duct tape job that won you a championship?
I don't remember oh, yes, I do. It was in St. Louis. I was, I guess this is in mod 50.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody hit the side of the boat, caved the side in, and we went back and, 200-mile tape. We taped the side of the boat up and went back out and won the race with, the right side of the boat just duct taped. And I'm not the first one. I'm not the last one that's ever done that. But when it's your boat, it's kind of exciting, kind of memorable. My son can remember it.
So we had that last year. We had this past year. What's his Jeff Shepard had a hole on the right side, and fortunately they didn't run the right-hander, and he was able to win the race. If he would have had to set that boat going right, it probably wouldn't have been pretty.
Yeah, an interesting thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So here's a question I like to ask everybody, since you're a driver and a team owner. What would be your top 5 drivers that you would, past or present, that you would, if you ever had a chance, just to get back in and line up against?
Well, of course, it's got to be Billy Seabold. Got to be number one on the list. I've raced against Barry Sanders and Tommy Posey and beat them. Never raced against Case Vandervelden. In 78, Renato Molinari co-drove my Mod 50 boat at Havasu. That would have been kind of interesting to see him, to race against him, because it was interesting to be able to watch my crew, my father telling me, comparing my driving style to Renato's driving style in the exact same boat, 30 minutes after I was in the boat. He's good. I mean, duh. He's very good. So Renato, Cesar Scotty was, another legend, gone long before his time. I raced against Benny Robertson, when he was still doing OPCs. He was in 74. He came to St. Louis in Sports J against all the tunnel boats. He brought a 15-foot Allison. Might have been a 16-foot. Okay, but it's an Allison V-Auto. He finished 10th. And Benny can drive a boat. And of course, look at what he's done in offshores, since. Hell of a deal. So anyway, to go back to the original question, Billy, Scotty, Renato, I think I could have beat Reggie between you and me. Earl Bentz was a driver that, that enjoyed watching him. I don't recall ever racing against him. Mike Seabold. It was a hell of a driver.
He was.
Mike went for broke. Love his spirit. His spirit. The sun is going down in Texas right now. Let me don't take a second and go turn on the light. I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure. We're getting the same thing here. We got a couple more questions. Feel free to chime in, folks. I'm getting some light myself because I'm in Texas. So
yeah. Oh, I can see me. I can see me now.
Yeah. All right. We got a question from Mike Hill, which is actually Mike Quindazzi. How competitive are you finding the current field compared to legacy racers? And that might
That's
be
a
a
good,
tough question because you haven't, you've only participated in 2 races. So,
right. That's a good question. I think Sean Torrente. Actually, I've raced against Sean Torrente when last year Vince was driving. They needed an extra boat, so I got in our backup boat and
nice.
ran against Sean. I would put Sean up against any of those legacy drivers. Um, uh, he's probably somebody I should include in my list of people to race against.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Sean, as a current day driver, could do it. Um, Alex Corella from
Mhm.
Europe is probably as good as anybody
Yeah.
was.
Mhm.
Um, but it's a good question. I don't know because there's a different style boat, different style driving has evolved.
Yeah.
Um, but I'd love to see them. I
Mhm.
think it'd be interesting.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, I've had this question quite often, and we talk about the old drivers and the new drivers, and I love the new drivers and I love the old drivers. I think the difference is right now a new driver doesn't get the same amount of seat time as you guys did back in the day because you ran endurance races, you ran 20, 30 races a year. Now we got guys like a Rusty. He's maybe going to squeeze out 6, 7 races.
yeah.
That's not a lot of seat time of getting starts and finishes.
And
Um,
that's a very good point. And that's exactly what we did. We could race 10 to 12 weekends a year and never leave the state of Texas in
yep.
72 and 73.
Hmm.
When I was first starting, we ran, 5 lap races, 2 5-lap heats on Saturdays and a 1 hour marathon on Sunday. Uh,
Hmm.
then we started doing the European style 4 15-minute heats.
Hmm.
Take your best 3 to determine the winner. Uh, I probably got more seat time in a summer than a lot of the current drivers have in their life.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a huge difference.
Yep.
We tested one day, Tuesday or Wednesday during the week, and
Hmm.
raced on the weekends. And we in 73 and 74, we literally wore engines out testing.
Yep.
And my father doing a setup, he knew where we had to be on jets and timing and props. Um,
Hmm.
and he knew that water's a little too rough for this fast prop. We put this one in, holds it better. He not as fast, but he can produce better lap times with this particular setup. And I knew the boat when I saw a wave. I said, I better get a little sideways to go over this, or raise the nose
Hmm.
up a little bit, or
Yep.
I call them feathers. We see a breeze coming across, you see a little disturbances on the top of the water.
Hmm.
"Ooh, I'm going to run through that. I better settle down a little bit here."
Hmm.
Um, the experience my peers, my contemporaries got was just so much more just brutal seat time, just
Yeah.
gross, hours and hours, not minutes and laps, hours. So
Hmm.
that's something that I think a lot of the guys are missing on here. So, you talk about
Yeah.
other, if I can, other drivers coming up, Rusty, I really have a lot of confidence in Rusty.
Hmm.
Um, I, watch him. I don't think I answered your question. How did I go through that process? Watch them, listen to them, um, see how they perform, see how they perform under stress. On the
Hmm.
beach. The motor's not working right, and there's time to go. Somebody's hollering, get the boats in the water. How calm is that person?
Exactly.
Those are all factors that that I would look at. And Brendan and I have talked about Rusty just I think both of us can teach Rusty something, and I believe Rusty will listen. I hope he's listening tonight. And so if you can hear me telling, I'm going to be telling him how to drive his boat. We've already had a couple of conversations earlier in the year. I said, Rusty, I want you to think about, visualize going around a turn without setting the boat. Just keep it up and drift around the turn. And yeah, he said, I'll try it, and that's all we can do is try. One of the things I told him that I did is my father gave me a steering wheel, and I drove around my house, go down the hallway, go in the doorway, set it, crank it up, bounce off the far wall, and and accelerate down the hallway. I told Rusty to visualize what it feels like to go around a race course and make the high-low turns or low-high. How you have to do that in the right-hand turns. I have no experience with the right-hand turns. They personally scare the shit out of me. I just don't know whether I could do that. I don't know if I could do that.
And then, we talk about the experience, and that's what kind of gets me excited about these young guys, because I think they're driving well. I just can't imagine we get to a dozen or 8 races in Springfield, the talent level that's going to go up, because they're going to get more seat time. They're going to get more time going through that right-hander. They're going to get more experience and more starts and finishes. And as good as they are now, I think the sky's the limit on what they're capable of.
Yeah, I think, it's the cream will rise to the top.
Yeah,
and there'll be some people that will make the wise decision that this isn't for me, and that's okay. That's okay. It's okay for them. That's okay for their team. That's okay for the other drivers. If you don't have your head in the game, this is not the place to do it.
Absolutely.
One of the reasons I quit, in my first phase was I was, going down the back straightaway and, up on the wheel, before we had seat belts and and I said, did I get that bulldozer moved over to that other job for that Monday morning stuff? And I can't have those kind of thoughts while I need to be 100% right here, right now. And
absolutely.
So it got to be able to concentrate, an unbelievable level of concentration. As a matter of fact, after the races, I was as tired mentally as I was physically. Just thinking so hard.
And I do car racing too. And you talk to the car racing guys. That's one of the things that when they look at our boats, I'm like, you're constantly working in that cockpit, all the way down the straightaway. There's no relaxing in that thing. Mm-hmm. I've talked to many. I got a few Indy 500 drivers, and I've tried to get them in a tunnel boat, and most of them say, "No way in hell, I'll jump in that thing." I was like, "But you do 230, 2 inches away from a concrete wall," and they said, "Nope, I don't want anything to do with it. That's too unpredictable. Waves change, water changes, wind changes.
Water changes is what they all seem to object to. Is you can't make two corners the same.
Exactly.
Every corner is a new corner.
But to me, that's the story, and that's what I like to sell to our fans is like, man, these guys are a rare breed. It's a rare breed to jump into one of these boats and take it 120 mile an hour down to a corner with your best friends and fight for that buoy. It's a strange breed, and I love them all. They're all crazy and addicted, and they love it. So we're going to wrap up the show here. We're about an hour. We don't have any more questions coming in, but the viewership has gone up. Feel free. We're going to give away after the show. I'm going to give away the case of Shield, and Jim's going to get one too.
Thank you.
I'm going to get one sent to him so he can get back into get his immune system boosted. I like to throw it to my guest. Anybody that you would like to thank, sponsors, you name it, for this crazy addiction and phase 3 that you're on.
Well, I've got to, obviously my wife puts up with me and she tries to keep me straight, tries to keep me focused on business, my real world job. She's very supportive. I don't think she's supportive enough, but she's more supportive than I have a right to have from a wife. I've got to thank Rusty for hanging in there with us and having confidence in me to come to run with us. Brendan and his group are just amazing guys. Really know, like I said earlier, they know more stuff than they know stuff I didn't even know existed. It's just that studies. I said, really? I never heard that before. They're good. You know, Ray Wyatt, he's helped us a couple of times. Tyler Percy, Brendan's number 2 guy. Race Master, Ethan, works with Brendan. He's helps me around when I go to Brendan's shop. He's the one that gets attached to me. Say, just go help Jim. Just go do whatever he needs. He's been a great help. Paul Stimmer, truck driver, been with me for a long, long time. Looking forward to him getting healthy so he can join us again this year. The whole boat racing community, what you're doing, what APBA is doing, they're having to, they've suffered through this pandemic also.
Absolutely.
It's been a tough financial thing for them. The Schuberts and Tim Seabold and NGKF1, they're on a good day. Them and you have got to fight to all different kinds of monsters, whether it be a health official or Department of Natural Resources, Coast Guard, local police, EMS, paramedic. It's all the balls here. You guys do a great job, and I think we tend to, all we do is cuss you guys you should have had more laps. How can we get more test time? My pit spot's dusty. Thank you guys. And thank all the fans and sponsors and the other teams. We need to thank our competitors because without our competitors, we wouldn't have any place to race. We wouldn't have anybody to race against. It's
exactly.
People being legends in their own minds again. We'll say I did not know him well, but I've known him for many years as Ted Gragoo. Having him passing away was such an unfortunate thing. So shout out to his family. He's in a better place, so I'm happy for him. That might not sound correct, but it is. Everybody. I thank everybody I'm around, everybody I see, because they all contribute to my success, and we all contribute to each other's success. We need to keep that in mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's something else that I've told people about boat racing a long time ago. Again, back in the boat racing years, we'd have 20 or 30 boats show up at a race in each class. We have 3 or 4 classes. I felt that anywhere I was traveling, anywhere in the United States, any city I passed through, if I had a car trouble or something like that, I could probably find a boat racer in that town, and all I would have to do is say, Robert Trollian, you don't know me that well, but I'm in your town, and I've got a blown engine in my car. Can you help me find a good mechanic or something? I think boat racers are good people at heart. We'll try to run over each other on the water, but on the land, we'll help each other. Look, walk around looking at people giving each other engines.
Exactly.
Lower
or just our late friend Tracy Hawkins was an epitome of that. Always helping others. We had wrecks in Springfield, and you see 4 or 5 crews working on that boat and lending stuff over to them. So it's a great community. You see a lot of it in racing, but boat racing's a special place. So we're excited to continue to make it grow and everything, and get it back. Not get it back, but just continue to grow it. I joke with everybody every week. We get new fans that chime in and call us and say, we're glad to have that tailgate spot. We can't wait to see the boats back. And they start talking about the drivers, who this driver is. And I just love hearing that, because that means we're doing the right thing.
Yeah. It's good. Bring your friends, make your contacts in the other cities, encourage them to come back. That's something else that Tracy was great at doing, is becoming personal friends with everybody you met in the pit. And, I know you had this in Springfield. People come back and say, oh, is Tracy Hawkins coming back? I want to see Tracy,
Yep. He loved our parade that we did.
Oh,
and hopefully we'll get to do that this year, because I was bummed we didn't do it last year.
Yeah.
That's a big thing we do with the fans, and they get to interact with all the teams. So, Jim, thank you again for coming on. We're excited to have you back full time in your phase 3. Looking forward to seeing the successes this year. I think you got some big things going. We're excited to see the battles August 6th through the 8th. We'll see you in Springfield, Ohio. Take care.
We'll be there.
Hey, folks, just to let you know, next week we're moving the show to Tuesday night. So we're going to be 8 p.m. Eastern. We've got a SST 60 family coming on to talk about boat racing. So we're going to move to Tuesday night. So make sure we'll send out the reminder and everything and let everybody know. Thanks again for tuning in. Like I said, our events are on our schedule and everything. If you want any information, feel free to go to championsparklake.com, or also tune into our Facebook page. We constantly give reminders up. Like us, share us, do whatever you can to continue to grow the sport. Can't thank everybody enough, and look forward to hearing from everybody next week. Take care. Have a great weekend.